amazing new platform called Be Connected. There's so many options and opportunities on this platform, folks. I'm excited to be here, and I'm glad you're here. And wait, did you join my group? Oh, wait, should excited, folks, that you're here to enjoy some ho ho ho, folks. How are we doing? Well, let's hit the right button. All right. Well, it's Wednesday evening at 7:02, and it is story time by Santa. I hope you had a fantastic, wonderful day. Santa sure did. He's back from his visit up north to get some baby snuggles. Yes, Santa's got a brand new granddaughter, great granddaughter, and he's excited that he's got a brand new great granddaughter, and he got some baby snuggles this weekend. So, woohoo! It's pretty awesome. Pretty hard to beat that one, folks. We have three amazing stories for you tonight, folks. The elf who found the secret workshop door is story number one. So get your hot cocoa, get your lemonade, get your cold iced tea, and don't forget the cookies. Come a little bit closer, my wonderful friends. Find a cozy seat, tuck your hands somewhere warm, and make sure your imagination is wide awake because tonight we are traveling to the North Pole. Not the part tourists sometimes imagine, only with snowbanks and candy canes. Oh no, oh no, no, no. We are going to the busiest, brightest, jinglest place in the North Pole, Santa's workshop, my workshop. And this is the story of an elf who discovered a door that had been hidden for a very, very long time. His name was Tobin Tinkertwig. Say that name real quick there, Mr. Zach. Tobin was a young workshop elf with a curly brown hair, round glasses, and a habit of carrying six pencils behind one ear. Why six? Because he always had only once carried only one. Then he lost it. Then he carried two. He lost both. So Toby decided six was safer. Mrs. Claus once asked, "Do you really need all those pencils?" Tobin nodded seriously. No. Mrs. Claus laughed so hard that she nearly dropped a tray of cinnamon rolls. Oh, that would have been destruction. Tobin worked in the toy testing room. Every morning he checked wheels, bells, buttons, springs, lids, levers, and anything else that might wiggle, wobble, or unexpectedly shout, "Moo!" That had happened once with the toy train. Nobody knew why. The cow sound button had somehow been installed near the engine whistle. That's kind of silly, isn't it? For 3 days, every time the train rounded a corner, it mooed instead of woo woo. Santa said it was the first farm to rail transportation system at the North Pole. Tobin laughed every time he remembered it. He liked his job. He was careful, he was dependable, and he had one special talent. Tobin noticed things: a loose screw behind a rocking horse, a crooked sticker on a puzzle box, a squeak in the wagon wheel, a tiny scratch in a dollhouse window. Sometimes the older elves said, "Tobin, you worry too much." But Santa often said, "Noticing little things can prevent big problems." Tobin always remembered that. One snowy Tuesday, Tobin was testing a group of wooden ducks. Each duck was supposed to roll across the table while flapping its wings. The first duck worked perfectly. The second duck spun in a circle. The third duck rolled backwards. The fourth duck simply sat there. Tobin gave it a gentle push. Nothing. He leaned closer. Are you shy? The duck did not answer. Fair enough. He turned it over and discovered a missing wheel. That would explain it. Just then, a loud clatter echoed from the hallway. Crash, clang, tingling. Tobin hurried outside. His friend Marybelle stood beside a mountain of fallen wrapping paper rolls. Only her red hat and two boots were visible. Tobin, she called. Yes, I may have created a wrapping paper avalanche. I noticed. Can you help? Together they gathered the runaway rolls. One rolled down the hallway and bumped into the wall. Another unrolled itself halfway to the cookie kitchen. The third wrapped around Tobin's ankles. He tried to step forward and fell into. Oh, there's Mr. Kobe. There's Mr. Kobe. Come on in, boy. We just started. We're only about 3 paragraphs into our first story. Well, I'm glad you're here too. You look like a present. Tobin sat up with a silver bow stuck in his hat. I hope I'm not fragile. As they cleaned, Tobin noticed something unusual behind the wrapping paper shelf. A thin line of golden light glowed along the wall. He pushed the shelf aside. Then hidden behind it was a narrow wooden door. The door had no handle, no window, no sign, only a tiny carved star in the center. Marybelle stared. Has that always been there? I don't know. Should we open it? Tobin adjusted his glasses. We don't know what's behind it. Marybelle grinned. That is usually why people open doors. There is also usually how people discover broom closets. Tobin touched this carved a star. The golden line became brighter. A tiny bell rang from inside the door. Ding! Both elves jumped. Then they laughed. That was not scary, Marybelle said. Nope, Tobin replied. It was only very surprising in a bell-shaped way. They searched the edge of the door. No hinges, no latch, no keyhole, just the little star. We should tell Santa, Tobin said. Marybelle nodded. It was tempting to keep the discovery secret. A mysterious door, a hidden room, possibly treasure, possibly cookies. But Tobin knew that being curious did not mean forgetting responsibility. So the elves went straight to me, Santa. They found him in the sleigh barn polishing a golden bell. I listened carefully. A hidden door behind the wrapping paper shelf? He asked. Yes, Santa, Tobin said. With a star carved into it? Yes, and it rang. Only once. My eyes twinkled. My goodness. Do you know what it is? Marybelle asked. Santa smiled. I know what it might be. He placed the bell down. Show me. When Santa saw the door, he became very quiet. He ran one gloved finger over the carved star. I haven't seen this door since I was a very young Santa. Marybelle's eyes widened. You were once young? Of course. Did you have a tiny beard? Santa stroked his long white beard thoughtfully. It was more of a hopeful fuzz. Tobin tried not to laugh. He failed. Santa laughed too. The room behind the door is called the Workshop of Unfinished Wonders. What does that mean? Tobin asked. It holds ideas that were started but never completed. Broken toys, Marybelle said. Not exactly. More like dreams that needed another chance. Santa explained that long ago, inventors had placed unfinished creations inside, toys that did not work yet, games missing rules, music boxes missing songs, puzzles missing pieces. Whenever the workshop found the right person to help, the door appeared. Tobin looked at the glowing star. Why did it appear to us? Santa smiled. That is something the room will decide. Santa pressed his hand against the star and nothing happened. Marybelle tried nothing. Then Tobin placed his hand against it. The star warmed beneath his palm. Click! The door opened. Golden light spilled into the hallway. Inside was a long, quiet room filled with shelves. Hundreds of unfinished creations waited there. A kite with no tail, a wooden bear with one arm, a drum that played only when nobody touched it, a board game with a blank board, a red wagon with square wheels. Wow. Mary Bell pointed. Those wheels seem inconvenient. The wagon rolled 1 inch and stopped. Tobin nodded extremely. In the center of the room stood a work table. On it rested a small wooden box. A note lay beside it. Tobin read aloud, "For the one who notices what others overlook." Mary Bell smiled. "That sounds like you." Tobin opened the box. Inside was a tiny mechanical bird. Its wings were made from silver paper. Its body was painted blue. A small key rested beneath its tail. Tobin wound the key. The bird fluttered once. Then it sneezed. Tweet, choo. A puff of glitter flew from its beak. Mary Bell burst out laughing. "I like it already." The bird tried to sing. It produced only one squeak. Then one wing fell off. Tobin caught it before it hit the table. His smile disappeared. "What if I can't fix it?" Santa stood beside him. "The room did not choose you because you already knew something." "Then why?" "Because you care enough to keep trying." For the next several days, Tobin worked on the bird. He adjusted its gears. He strengthened its wings. He replaced the spring. He tried cloth feathers. They drooped. He tried metal feathers. They were too heavy. He tried candy wrapper feathers. Mary Bell ate 2 of them. "I was testing their flavor," she explained. "They were not supposed to be eaten. Then the test was useful." The bird improved slowly. It could flap both wings. It could hop. It could turn its head, but it still could not sing. Every time Tobin wound the key, the bird made strange noises. Squeak, clunk, hiccup. Once it made the sound of a duck. Quack. Tobin sighed. "You are definitely not a duck." The bird quacked again. Tobin rested his head on the table. "I'm failing." Mary Bell sat beside him. You are learning." "It feels exactly like failing." "Sometimes learning and failing wear the same hat." Tobin looked at her. "That sounds like something Santa would say." "I may have borrowed it." "Did you ask?" "Nope." "Then you stole wisdom." "I prefer temporary relocated." Tobin laughed despite himself. That evening, Tobin wandered through the main workshop. The usual music and clatter had ended. Most shelves had gone home. He passed the toy testing room and noticed the wooden duck with a missing wheel. It still sat on the table. Tobin picked it up. "You and the bird have something in common." He examined the duck's wheel mechanism. Then he noticed something. The duck's wings moved because its wheels turned. The faster it rolled, the faster the wings flapped. Tobin suddenly stood up. The bird doesn't need to sing by itself. He hurried back to the secret workshop. Mary Bell followed, carrying a plate of cookies. "For emergency thinking," she said. Tobin opened the bird carefully. Its gears were connected directly to the sound box. That was why everything kept jamming. He separated the pieces and created a new system. The wings powered one set of gears, the turning head powered another. The sound box was connected to the winding key. It took hours. There was mistakes. At one point, the bird's tail spun like a windmill. At another, it hopped onto Mary Bell's cookie plate. But just before midnight, Tobin wound the key one more time. The bird lifted its wings. It fluttered into the air. Then a clear, gentle melody filled the room. Not loud, not perfect, but warm and beautiful. The song sounded like snowflakes falling near a cozy window. Mary Bell's eyes filled with happy tears. It worked. Tobin smiled. "It works." The little bell landed on his shoulder and chirped. Then it squeezed glitter into his hair. Mary Bell laughed. "Almost perfect." Tobin laughed too. "Nope, completely itself." The next morning, Santa gathered the workshop elves. Tobin stood nervously in front of everybody. He did not enjoy big crowds. His knees felt wobbly. His stomach felt full of jumping marshmallows. Santa whispered, "Courage does not mean your knees stop shaking." "What does it mean?" "It means you speak while they are shaking." Tobin took a breath. He explained the secret door. He showed everybody the bird. Then he wound the key. The mechanical bird flew above the elves, singing its gently song. Everyone cheered. The bird circled the room, glitter sparkling behind it. It landed on a wooden sign above Santa's chair. Tobin smiled proudly. Santa raised one hand. "This bird is wonderful." The applause grew louder, but the greatest wonder is not the bird. The room became quiet. It's the patience, responsibility, kindness, and courage that brought it to life. I turned and looked at Tobin. "You could have opened the door without asking." Tobin nodded. "You could have hidden what you found." Tobin nodded again. "You could have given up when the bird failed." "I almost did, but you didn't." I placed the small silver star pin on Tobin's apron. "From this day forward, you will be the keeper of unfinished wonders." Tobin's mouth fell open. "Me? Only you." Maribel raised her hand. "Can I be assistant keeper?" Santa smiled. "What are your qualifications?" "I carry emergency cookies." "Excellent, you're hired." Everyone laughed. From that day on, Tobin and Maribel visited the secret workshop often. They repaired the one-armed bear. They gave the kite a tail. They replaced the wagon's square wheels with round ones. They even finished the board game. The rules took longer than expected because Maribel kept adding a rule that said anyone holding a cookie gets 2 extra turns. Tobin removed that rule 12 times. She added it 13. But the unfinished wonders are not rushed. Each one received patience. Each one received care. Each one received another chance. And Tobin learned something important. The secret workshop did not hold failed toys, it held responsibility. Things were not useless simply because they were unfinished. People were not failures simply because they still learning. Some ideas needed time, some dreams needed courage, some hearts needed someone patient enough to say, "Let's try again." Years later, whenever a young elf became discouraged, Tobin brought them to the secret door. He showed them the mechanical bird. It still sang beautifully. It still sneezed glitter. Some things never change. Then Tobin would smile and say, "This room is full of unfinished wonders." The young elf would look around, and every one of them still became something wonderful. Tobin nodded, "Yes, even if it takes a long time, especially then." And from behind him, Maribel would appear with a plate of cookies. Thinking fuel, Tobin would take one for emergency purposes only. Then the bird would quack, everybody would laugh, and sometimes, somewhere deep inside the secret workshop, another tiny golden star would begin to glow. Here's the moral. After being unfinished does not mean being unsuccessful. Tobin discovered that wonderful things often take patience, courage, responsibility, and more than one attempt. When we care for our work, ask for help, learn from mistakes, and refuse to give up on ourselves or others, possibilities begin to grow. You do not have to know everything before you begin. You do not have to be perfect to make something meaningful. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give is a dream or a person, is the kindness to say you are worth another chance. Woo! Wasn't that awesome, guys? That was pretty amazing. All right. Story number 2. Whoa, what did that one say, Kobe? "I love your videos you do." Well, thank you. I truly appreciate it. You got to tell more of your friends, though. "Coming close, my wonderful friends. Find a comfortable chair, settle your feet, and bring your biggest listening ears. Tonight's story is about 2 very small words. They can be very difficult to say. They can feel heavy in your mouth. Sometimes they hide behind excuses. Sometimes they get stuck beneath pride. And this story is about a boy named Caleb Parker. Caleb lived in a chirp little town called Pineberry Falls. Oh, excuse me. It was the kind of town where neighbors waved from their porches, children rode bicycles along quiet sidewalks, and the bakery smelled like cinnamon rolls every Saturday morning. Caleb was 11 years old. He had bright brown eyes, curly hair that refused to stay combed, and even enough energy to make three squirrels ask him to calm down. He loved soccer, he loved building forts, he loved inventing jokes, and he especially loved making his best friend Mateo laughed. The two boys had been friends since kindergarten. They built cardboard castles together. They traded comic books. They played soccer almost every afternoon. They even had a secret handshake involving two claps, one elbow bump, and a final move that neither of them completely understood. One day, Caleb said, "Why do we wiggle our fingers at the end?" Mateo shrugged. "I thought you knew." "I thought you knew." They decided the finger wiggle meant friendship. That seems good enough. Caleb had many wonderful qualities. He was loyal, he was creative, he was brave when his friends needed help. But Caleb struggled with one important thing. He did not like admitting when he was wrong. If he spilled his juice, he blamed the glass for being too slippery. When he forgot his homework, he blamed his backpack for hiding it. If he stepped on the dog's tail, he claimed the dog had parked it in the wrong place. His mother would raise one eyebrow. "Caleb, what? Did the dog move his tail underneath your foot?" Caleb would think, well, possibly. Even the dog, Pickles, looked unconvinced. When Caleb made a mistake, he felt something uncomfortable inside. It was not because he didn't care, he cared very much. But saying sorry made him feel as though he was announcing, "I am a terrible person." So instead, he defended himself. He explained, he argued, he used many words when two honest ones would have worked better. One sunny Friday, Caleb and Mateo hurried to the town park after school. The annual Pineberry Falls Family Festival was only 1 week away. Their class had been asked to build something for the festival's Young Inventors display. Caleb and Mateo decided to create a miniature amusement park made entirely from recycled materials. They called it Wonderland from What Was Left. The name had been Mateo's idea. Caleb wanted to call it Caleb's Extremely Amazing Cardboard Kingdom. Mateo stared at him. "Where is my name? You can be the assistant king." Mateo crossed his arms. "Try again." They chose Mateo's title. That amusement park had a Ferris wheel made from a cardboard circles, a roller coaster built from paper towel tubes, and a tiny spinning ride powered by rubber bands. They worked for days. Mateo carefully painted the rides. Caleb built the moving pieces. Together, they created a little ticket both from an empty tea box. Across the top, they painted "Everyone is Welcome." "It looked fantastic," Mateo said. "It looked award winning," Caleb replied. "You know, it isn't a competition. It can still be award winning in my heart." That afternoon, they carried the model to Caleb's garage for one final practice run. Mateo placed it carefully on the work table. "Be gentle with the Ferris wheel. The center pin is loose." "I know what I'm doing," Caleb said. He wound the rubber band motor. The wheel turned slowly. Round and round it went. Caleb grinned. Faster would be more exciting. Mateo shook his head. "Don't wind it too much. One more turn, Caleb. Two more turns. Caleb." But Caleb kept whining. The rubber band tightened. The Ferris wheel spun faster. For one glorious second, it looked amazing. Then, boom, the rubber band snapped. The wheel flew off its stand, rolled across the table, bumped into the roller coaster, and knocked the entire model onto the floor. Caleb's ride scattered everywhere. The ticket booth landed upside down. One tiny paper person became stuck inside a juice box tunnel. Mateo stared at the mess. Caleb stared too. Pickles wandered into the garage looking at the wreckage and quietly wandered back out. Even the dog knew this was not a good moment. Mateo bent down and picked up the broken Ferris wheel. I told you not to wind it so much. Caleb felt heat rise in his face. He knew Mateo was right, but instead of saying so, he answered the rubber band was weak. Mateo looked at him. You pulled it too far. The glue probably wasn't dry. It was dry. The table might have been crooked. The table did not wind the rubber band, Caleb. Caleb crossed his arms. You don't have to blame everything on me. Mateo's eyes widened. I'm not blaming everything on you. I'm saying what happened. Well, maybe you should have built it stronger. Oh, the words came out quickly, too quickly. The moment they were spoken, Caleb wished he could catch them. But words are a little like toothpaste. Once they come out, putting them back in is very difficult. Mateo looked hurt. I spent hours painting that. I spent hours building it, Caleb replied. Mateo sat down the broken wheel. Then you can fix it. He picked up his backpack and walked away. The garage became very quiet. Caleb stood alone beside the ruined project. His stomach felt tight. He wanted to run after Mateo. He wanted to say, wait. Instead, he muttered he didn't have to get so upset. Pickles returned and sat beside him. Caleb looked down. You agree with me, right? Pickles sneezed. That was not a helpful answer. At dinner, Caleb pushed peas around his plate. His mother noticed. You have been moving the same pea for 5 minutes. It is exercising. Would you like me to tell you what happened? Caleb explained the broken project. He carefully skipped the part where Mateo warned him several times. He also skipped the part where he blamed Mateo. His mother listened and he said, what did you say after it broke? Caleb stared at P's things. What kind of things? Words. Caleb, he signed. I told him he should have built it stronger. His mother nodded slowly. Was that true? The wheel did break. That wasn't my question. Caleb poked another pea. No. Were you responsible? Mostly. His mother waited. All right, completely. What did you think Mateo needed to hear? Caleb mumbled, sorry. I can't hear you. Sorry. Perhaps it's not the person who needs to hear it. Caleb groaned. What if he's still angry? He might be. What if saying sorry makes me look foolish? His mother smiled gently. An honest apology does not make you look weak. It shows that you are strong enough to take responsibility. Caleb thought about that, but he did not feel ready. The next morning, Caleb went to the garage. He tried to repair the project alone. The Ferris wheel leaned sideways. The roller coaster had a bend in the middle. The ticket booth now read, everyone is welcome. The rest had torn off. Caleb tried to reattach it, but the final letters stuck to his sleeve. Pickles watched from the doorway. Please stop judging me, Pickles yawned. Caleb worked for an hour. Nothing looked right. Mateo was better at painting and careful repairs. Caleb was better at moving parts. That's why we made such a good team. He missed his friend. Still, each time he imagined apologizing, excuses marched into his mind. Mateo should have helped clean up. Mateo should not have walked away. Mateo could apologize too. Then Caleb heard a knock on the open garage door. His grandfather, Papa Ray, stood there holding 2 lemonades. I heard there was a cardboard emergency. Caleb accepted a glass. It's a disaster. Papa Ray examined the model. I have seen worse. Really? No, but it sounded comforting. Caleb laughed a little. Papa Ray sat down beside him. Your mother told me you and Mateo argued. Caleb nodded. I should apologize, but I don't know how. Papa Ray took a sip of lemonade. A real apology has 3 important parts. Caleb listened. First, you clearly say what you did. Second, you recognize how it affected the other person. Third, you try to make things right. So I can't just say, sorry you got upset. Papa Ray shook his head. That is not an apology. That is putting a tiny hat on an excuse. Caleb smiled what about Sorry, but you should have built it stronger. That apology has a goat in it. A goat. Every time you say, I'm sorry, but, the but changes through your apology and knocks it over. Caleb burst out laughing. He imagined a goat crashing through a row of carefully arranged words. Papa Ray continued, a good apology might sound like this. I'm sorry I ignored your warning and broke our project. I blamed you even though it was my mistake. I understand that I hurt your feelings and damaged something you worked hard on. I would like to help fix it. That is a lot more than two words. The two words open the door. Honesty walks through it. Caleb practiced. I'm sorry the wheel broke. Papa Ray shook his head. The wheel didn't make the choice. Caleb tried again. I'm sorry I wound it too far. Good. And I'm sorry I blamed Mateo. Better. Caleb took a deep breath. I'm sorry I ignored your warning, broke the project, and blamed you. I know you worked hard and I know I hurt your feelings. I want to fix it with you. Papa Ray smiled. That sounds honest. What if he doesn't forgive me? You cannot control how quickly another person heals. You can only be sincere, patient, and willing to do better. Caleb looked at the broken amusement park. Then he stood up. I'm going to Mateo's house. Pickles barked. You cannot come. Pickles sat down Caleb's side. Fine, but no apologizing for me. Mateo was sitting on his front steps when Caleb arrived. For a moment, neither boy spoke. Then Mateo said, hi. Hoy. Caleb, prepared apology, vanished from his mind. His knees felt shaky. His mouth went dry. He almost said the Ferris wheel broke because. Then he remembered Papa Ray's goat. No excuses. Caleb took a breath. I'm sorry I ignored your warning and wound the wheel too far. I broke our project and then blamed you. That was unfair. I know you worked really hard and I hurt your feelings. I want to make it right. Mateo looked down at his shoes. Caleb waited. Finally, Mateo said, I was really mad. I understand. You made it sound like the whole thing was my fault. I know it wasn't. Mateo looked up. Do you actually mean that? Yes. Another quiet moment passed. Then Mateo nodded. I forgive you. Caleb found the tight knot in his stomach loosen. But, Mateo added, the Ferris wheel still looks like it lost a fight with a tornado. That is accurate. Mateo smiled slightly. Do you want help fixing it? I was hoping you would. The boys returned to Caleb's garage. They worked all afternoon. Caleb repaired the moving parts. Mateo repainted the rides. Together, they rebuilt the ticket booth. This time it read, mistakes welcome, we fixed them together. Papa Ray saw it and smiled. I like that better than the first sign. By evening, the amusement park looked even better than before. The Ferris wheel looked gentle, turned gentle. The roller coaster stayed on its track. The spinning ride spun at a safe and reasonable speed. Caleb placed one finger near the rubber band motor. One extra turn, Mateo gave him a look. Caleb pulled his hand away. Excellent teamwork. They both laughed. At the family festival, children gathered around their display. The little rides moved perfectly. A judge asked why they had changed the sign. Caleb and Mateo looked at each other. Then Caleb answered honestly, because we made a mistake. Actually, I made a mistake, but we learned that friendship can be repaired when somebody takes responsibility and both people are willing to work together. The judge smiled. That may be the first invention here, the finest invention here. Caleb pointed at the Ferris wheel, the cardboard park. Nope, the judge said, the lesson. Later that evening, Caleb and Mateo sat beneath the festival lights eating cinnamon rolls. Mateo held out his hand. Secret handshake. They clapped twice. They bumped elbows. Then came the wiggle, the finger wiggle. Caleb laughed. It makes no sense. Mateo grinned. It means friendship. Caleb nodded and second chances. From that day forward, Caleb still made mistakes. And of course, he said, everyone does. Once he accidentally painted Pickles' tail blue while working on an art project. Pickles was not impressed. But Caleb stopped blaming the paintbrush. He learned to pause. He learned to tell the truth. He learned to listen when somebody explained what they hurt. And whenever excuses tried to sneak into his apology, Caleb imagined Papa Ray's goat charging through the words. Then he began again. I'm sorry, I was wrong. How can I make it better? Those little words did not make Caleb smaller. Each time he used them honestly, they helped to his courage grow, and they showed the people around him something important. Caleb cared more about making things right than pretending he had never been wrong. Here's the moral of the story. Saying I'm sorry is not a sign of weakness. It is an act of courage, kindness, and responsibility. A sincere apology means admitting what we did, understanding how it affected someone else, and doing our best to repair the harm. We all make mistakes, but our mistakes do not have to define us. When we tell the truth, listen with an open heart, and choose to make things right instead of hiding behind excuses, we grow stronger and our relationships can grow stronger too. Wow, that one was pretty cool. I like that one. A lot of life lessons in that one, for sure. All right, the pencil that knew the future. Find a comfortable place to sit, tuck your feet beneath a warm blanket, and make sure your imagination is ready. Tonight's story begins with something very ordinary. Not a sleigh, not a dragon, not even a magical cookie, although they do exist. It begins with a pencil, a small yellow pencil with a silver band, a pink eraser, and one very unusual talent. This pencil could write what it was going to happen next. And while that may sound like a most wonderful gift in the world, one young boy was about to learn that knowing the future and living it wisely were two very different things. In a cheerful little town of Maplewick lived a 12-year-old boy named Eli Bennett. Eli was curious about almost everything. He wondered why cats always chose the one person who did not want a cat on their lap. He wondered why socks disappeared in the laundry but never reappeared. And he often wondered why teachers said there are no silly questions right before giving them a very serious look. Eli loved drawing inventions in a thick blue notebook. He had designed a backpack with tiny wheels for tired students, a breakfast table that automatically poured cereal, and a machine that could detect when someone had taken the last cookie. His younger sister, Nora, examined the drawing carefully. How does the machine work? She asked. It sounds an alarm. What does the alarm say? Eli cleared his throat and shouted, Cookie emergency. His mother hurried to the room. What happened? Nora pointed at Eli. His invention works. Eli was creative and thoughtful, but he worried too far about what might happen. For a second game, he imagined, before a soccer game, he imagined missing every kick. Before a test, he pictured forgetting everything he had learned. Before speaking in class, he worried that his voice might squeak. Once he became so nervous about sneezing during a school concert that he spent the entire performance thinking about sneezing. He did not sneeze, but he did hiccup during the quietest part. Hic! The conductor nearly dropped his baton. Eli wished he could know what was coming. Then he could prepare. He could avoid mistakes. He could make every choice correctly. At least that was what he believed. One Saturday morning, Eli and Nora visited their grandma, whom everybody called Grandpa Ben. Grandpa Ben owned a small repair shop near the edge of town. The sign above the door read, Bennett's Repairs, broken clocks, toys, lamps, and occasionally bad moods. Can you really repair bad moods? Nora asked. Grandpa Ben smiled. Not always, but cookies improved my success rate. The shop was filled with wonderful things. Clock ticked along the walls. Music boxes played gentle tunes. Toy trains rustled beside old radios. Drawers overflowed with buttons, screws, springs, ribbons, and mysterious objects that Grandpa Ben promised were important. In the back stood an old wooden desk that had belonged to Eli's great-grandmother. Grandpa Ben was cleaning it when Eli noticed a narrow drawer hidden beneath the writing surface. "What's in there?" Eli asked. "I haven't opened it for years." The drawer stuck at first. Grandpa Ben pulled, Eli pulled, then Nora pulled, Eli. Then the drawer suddenly opened. All three tumbled backwards onto a basket of soft polishing cloths. Nora sat up wearing one on her head. I helped. Inside the drawer wrestled a small wooden box. Carved in the lid were the words, "For the writer who wishes to know too much." "That sounds friendly," Nora said. Grandpa Ben opened it carefully. Inside lay a sharpened yellow pencil. It looked completely ordinary. Eli picked it up. The moment his fingers touched it, the pencil trembled. Then it moved by itself. Eli nearly dropped it. The pencil pressed its tip against a sheet of paper and wrote, "In 10 seconds, Nora will ask for a cookie." Everyone stared. Nora counted quietly, and in 10 seconds she looked at Grandpa Ben. "Can I have a cookie?" Eli gasped. Nora gasped even louder. Grandpa Ben looked, slowly sat down. The pencil wrote again. "Grandpa Ben will say, 'Only one?'" "Only one," Grandpa Ben said. Then he blinked. Nora grabbed a cookie from the jar. This was the greatest pencil in history. Grandpa Ben studied it carefully. "My mother once told me about a pencil that wrote tomorrow's possibilities." "Possibilities?" Eli said. "She said it could see what was likely to happen, but not everything it wrote was certain." The pencil rolled across the desk and tapped the paper impatiently. Then it wrote, "Eli will take me home." Eli smiled. "That seems very certain." Grandpa Ben's expression became thoughtful. "Use it carefully. Knowing too much can make it difficult to listen to your own judgment." "I'll be responsible," Eli promised. The pen wrote, "He means that right now." Nora laughed. "The pencil has jokes." At home, Eli began testing it. "What will we have for dinner?" The pencil wrote, "Spaghetti." Nora will get sauce on her nose. At dinner, Nora wore a napkin tucked beneath her chin. "I am prepared." She carefully twirled her spaghetti for several moments. Everything went perfectly. Then she sneezed. A tiny dot of sauce landed directly on her nose. Eli laughed so hard that milk nearly came out of his own. The pencil was right again. Eli asked what the weather would be, the question his teacher would ask on Monday. The soccer team would win the weekend game, the pencil answered every time. Soon Eli stopped worrying. He felt ready for everything. On Monday morning, the pencil wrote, "Mrs. Flora will ask who completed the extra science assignment." Eli quickly completed it before school. Then Mrs. Flora asked a question. He raised his hand. "Well done, Eli," she said. His classmates looked impressed. The next day, the pencil predicted a surprise spelling quiz. Eli nodded, studied every word. He earned the perfect score. "This is amazing," he whispered. The pencil wrote, "You are welcome." During recess, Eli's best friend Marcus invited him to join a basketball game. Eli secretly asked the pencil what would happen. It wrote, "Marcus will miss the final shot. His team will lose by 1 point." "I think I'll sit this game out," Eli said. Marcus frowned. "We need one more player. You're going to lose anyway." Marcus stared at him. "How do you know?" Eli realized his mistake. "I just have a feeling." Marcus walked away hurt. The game ended exactly as the pencil predicted. Marcus missed the last shot. Eli explained the expected to feel clever. Instead, he felt uncomfortable. The next morning, the pencil wrote, "Nora will break Eli's model airplane after school." Eli's stomach tightened. He had spent 3 weeks building that airplane. The moment he got home, he carried it into his bedroom and placed it on the highest shelf. Then he shut the door. Then he locked it. Then he placed a chair underneath the handle. Nora watched from the hallway. "Are you protecting treasure?" "I'm protecting my airplane." "From what?" "From you." Nora's smile disappeared. I wasn't going to touch it. Yes, you were. How do you know? I just do. Nora crossed her arms. I don't even know everything. She walked away. Eli felt a prick of guilt, but the pencil had warned him. He was only being careful. That evening, Eli climbed into the chair to retrieve a book. The chair wobbled. He grabbed the shelf tilted, the airplane slid forward. Eli reached for it, bumped the bedroom door, and sent the airplane tumbling to the floor. One wing snapped. Nora appeared in the doorway. Eli stared at the broken model. You didn't break it. Nope, Nora said, you did. The pencil had written that Nora would break the airplane, but because Eli believed it completely, he had caused the accident himself. He hurried to the pencil. You were wrong. The pencil moved slowly across the page. I wrote what I was likely before your choices changed the path. Eli frowned. So the future can change? The future is filled with choices. The next day, the pencil predicted that Eli would forget his presentation notes and would embarrass himself in front of the class. Eli's old worries returned all at once. He checked his backpack 6 times. He had placed the notes in a bright red folder. He wrote reminders on his hand. He even asked Nora to say presentation notes every time she saw him. She did, at breakfast, at the bus stop, through the bus windows. Presentation notes. The neighbor watering flowers looked confused. At school, Eli gripped the red folder tightly. When it was time for presentation, his invention project, he walked to the front of the class. He opened the folder. It was empty. His notes were gone. His face became hot. The pencil had predicted this. He was going to fail. Mrs. Flores smiled kindly. Are you ready? Eli almost said no. Then he looked at his classmates. Marcus sat near the back. He had not spoken much to Eli since the basketball game. Eli took a slow breath. He knew his invention. He had designed it. He had practiced explaining it. The notes were helpful, but they were not the source of his ideas. I'm ready, he said. He presented his design for a school lunch tray with special grips to prevent spills. At first, his voice trembled. Then he relaxed. He explained each part. He even added a joke. The tray also has a potato proof edge because mashed potatoes are known to be escape artists. The class laughed. When he finished, everyone applauded. Mrs. Flores smiled. That was very thoughtful, clear, and creative. Eli returned to his seat in surprise. The pencil had predicted embarrassment, but he had chosen courage. After school, he found the missing notes beneath a book in his locker. Marcus approached him. Good presentation, thanks. Eli hesitated. I'm sorry about the basketball game. Marcus looked at him. I should have had said you were going to lose. I should have played and supported you. You acted like the game didn't matter. It mattered because you had asked me to be there. Marcus nodded. We lost. I know. You could have helped. I know that too. After a quiet moment, Marcus smiled. We're playing a game tomorrow. I'll be there. That evening, Eli returned to Grandpa Ben's repair shop. He placed the pencil on the old desk. I don't think it's helping me anymore. Grandpa Ben nodded. What has it taught you? That knowing what might happen isn't the same as knowing what you should do. Grandpa Ben smiled. Very good. I started treating productions like promises. And people, I stopped trusting them. I even hurt Marcus and Noah because I thought the pencil knew them better than I did. The pencil began writing, Eli, tomorrow will. Eli gently lifted it from the paper. Nope, the pencil stopped. I don't need to know. Grandpa Ben's eyes twinkled. That may be the wisest thing anyone has ever said to that pencil. Eli placed it back inside the wooden box. Before he closed the lid, the pencil wrote one final message. The future improves when kindness helps write it. Eli smiled. That one I'll remember. The following afternoon, Eli and Marcus played basketball. Eli did not ask who would win. He passed the ball. He encouraged his teammates. When Marcus missed a shot, Eli said, take the next one. Near the end of the game, Marcus passed the ball to Eli. Eli shot, the ball bounced off the rim, hit the backboard, rolled down around the basket, and dropped through. His team won by 1 point. Marcus laughed. Did your magic pencil predict that? Nope. Then how did you know to shoot? I didn't. I just tried. At home, Eli repaired the model airplane. Nora helped glue the broken wing. Do you know whether it will fly? She asked. No. Should we ask the pencil? Eli shook his head. Let's find out ourselves. They carried the model airplane outside. Eli held it carefully. Nora counted 1, 2, 3. He tossed it into the breeze. The little airplane dipped. It wobbled, then it rose and glided across the yard. Nora cheered. Eli ran after it, laughing. The airplane landed gently in a patch of clover. It had not flown perfectly, but for a few wonderful seconds it had flown. And Eli realized that those seconds felt more exciting because they had not known they were coming. From then on, Eli still planned for tests. He practiced presentations. He checked the weather before soccer games. Being prepared was useful, but being stopped trying to control everything possibly made tomorrow. He learned to leave room for surprises. He learned that mistakes could become lessons. He learned that other people deserve trust, not predictions. Most importantly, he discovered that the future was not simply something waiting for him. It was something he helped create through every honest word. Thoughtful, choice, brave attempt, and act of kindness. Years later, the small wooden box remained inside Grandpa Ben's hidden drawer. Occasionally, the pencil moved softly against the lid, hoping somebody might ask what tomorrow would bring, but Eli no longer needed its answers. He already knew the important part. Tomorrow might bring success, it might bring mistakes, it might bring laughter, changes, surprises, and opportunities he could not yet imagine. Whatever came, he could meet with it with courage. He could make responsible choices, and he could treat people kindly. And whenever the future felt uncertain, he could no longer be helpful, step forward. Because sometimes the most wonderful thing about tomorrow is that we still have a chance to help write it. Wow, that's pretty awesome. Here's the moral of the story. The future is not fixed together, waiting to be discovered. It is shaped by the choices we make each day. Planning can help us feel prepared. Excuse me. But courage means moving forward even when we do not know exactly what will happen. Eli learned that protection should never replace trust, responsibility, and kindness or belief in ourselves. We cannot control every outcome, but we can choose to be honest, support our friends, learn from mistakes, and try again. When we make thoughtful choices with a caring heart, we help create a future filled with responsibilities. Wow, that was pretty amazing, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I hope you liked that one. You like that one, Kobe? That one was pretty cool. So, there, you made it and got 2.5 stories, Kobe. What do you think? Loved it. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. We're going to work on some more stories. We're going to have some fun. And we're going to be back here again next Wednesday. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. Have an awesome rest of your evening. And Kobe, have a great day. And we'll catch you next week, folks. This is Santa Papa John. Good night. Take care. Santa loves you. Ho, ho, ho. Woo!